Welcome back to Little Moves, Big Careers. I'm Caroline Esтерson, your host, and today's guest is someone who proves that great careers aren't built by chasing titles. They're built by getting things done, staying curious, and leading with integrity. From toolmaker to managing director, Declan Allen's career has zigzagged through one of the fastest changing industries on earth, automotive and mobility. He's now at the helm of Horiba Mira, a global leader in engineering and innovation, driving breakthroughs that are literally shaping how the world moves. But here's what I love about Declan. There isn't any ego. It's just pure practical wisdom. He didn't map out a route to the top. He just focused on being brilliant where he was, learning constantly, and then letting opportunity find him. And so in this conversation, you're going to hear about why doing a great job is about staying curious. And it's about asking not, can we do this? But rather, how can we do this? We'll explore how Declan's early years on the shop floor shaped his belief that every role matters and that the best leaders never forget where the real knowledge lives, and the importance of mindset over metrics. Why diversity of thought, can-do energy and authentic relationships beat any tick box leadership model. There's a moment in this chat where Declan says businesses don't promote people who say they want to lead. They promote people who get things done. That's something that I want you to hold on to. So grab your notebook and let's dive in. This isn't a pep talk, it's a practical guide with a glint in its eye. Smart moves, slight chaos. Welcome to Little Moves, Big Careers. So from engineer to managing director, Declan's career has zigzagged through an industry that is literally transforming under his feet. So Declan, if I was to have asked your 18-year-old self, you are going to be an MD in the future, would you have actually believed me?
No, that wouldn't have even been a thought in my head. At that age, I was focused on learning and the real passion for engines from Northern Ireland. So we've got this defective gene for going fast. So I was too caught up in understanding how all that worked, and leadership was. I didn't even know that it was a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had no concept of it and no real no.
And I think that's really interesting because people talk, don't they, about, get your goal and focus. But sometimes actually the best careers come from just pursuing things that you're really interested in and see
Yeah.
where they go.
Well, that's my mantra entirely. Anybody asks me for advice, they say, how do I do your job? How can I do your job in 10 years' time? I'm like, well, what do you think I do? Describe to me what you think my role is, and the conversation falls over very, very quickly. So, I said, careful what you wish for. Actually, the best advice I give to people, and it's still the way I do it. I just focus on what I'm doing at the moment and try and do it as best I can, because at the end of the day, you learn from that. You learn what you like to do, and you find out what you're not very good at, to be honest. Focusing on what you're doing, you have to accept that actually there's bits you're not very good at. So you start learning about how to compensate for it. And if you do develop that mindset of getting things done, even though it's not something that you really love and enjoy, you still got to get it done. And that's what, businesses are looking out for people that get things done, not
Yeah.
say they want to be the leader. Who's ever scans the organization to say my successor is going to be the one I can hear say I want to do your job the most often. I mean, it's just nonsense.
Yeah.
So I'm a much more pragmatic, practical person that says opportunities come to you if you've got the right mindset,
Yeah.
and your career takes care of itself, because doing each job to the best of your absolute ability is noticed. That's what businesses want to see, and they will make your career happen for you, offer you opportunities, and always take them, even if it's like not sure that's perfectly in line with my
Yeah.
roadmap. It'll you'll learn from it. You become a broader person, and that's what really matters.
Absolutely. And, it's reminded me when teams are interviewed at the start of a big tournament, the teams that you expect to get through to the
Yeah,
final, if you ask them, you're looking forward to being in the final, always those sports people that are being interviewed say, I'm focused on the next game,
yeah,
next game.
yeah,
Just focus in, be brilliant at what you're doing right now,
yeah, exactly.
and take care, everything else will take care of itself.
Yeah, exactly.
So what was your very first job, and what were the key things that you learned from it?
Well, I actually started out as in a tool room as a tool maker. So that's a very much a machine shop environment. The company I worked for made, actually, it was really interesting, made lenses for glasses, so spectacles. And it was early stage of developing bifocal and varifocal technology. So I was in the R&D department. As part of that, I was working in the tool room to essentially learn the trade. Ultimately, that's been hugely important to me for a number of reasons because it means when I went to university, I actually had a really good understanding of what I was learning because I could understand
Did you
how it
go
was
to
applied.
univers Did you go to university later then?
Yeah, I worked I worked for a year in industry, and
Yeah.
then it was an industrial scholarship actually. A year in industry and then 4 years masters, and I worked for the same company each summer. You just learn so much about how to design things to be made, what the different machining operations do. So it's really good grounding in practical skills that have kind of stood by me throughout my career and means I could make sense of the academia. I think this the second and probably most important aspect of it was from a very young age I appreciated the importance of the shop floor to any successful business because the amount of knowledge that's there, the amount of teamwork and camaraderie and people you can talk to solve problems is so important. So I think that's always meant I've been very grounded in the relationships I have, and I can I can talk to anyone in my team. From I don't like to use the word shop floor because everyone's equal in my mind. It's just a different thing that they do. So yeah, those key bits of learning stuck with me all my career.
I had the pleasure, didn't I, Declan, last year of coming round
Yeah.
your site at Mira, which is just incredible.
Mm.
And some of the innovation that you've got going there it just blew my mind.
Yeah.
What was really clear as you're walking around is just how solid all of those relationships are. And so I would imagine that collaboration, problem solving, R&D it's just in your DNA, isn't it? That conversation about how to improve all the time is just happening around you.
Yeah, and ultimately you got to make stuff, right? So you can have the best idea and a great design, but ultimately you've got to make it and turn it into something physical. So, but yeah, everyone's got a huge role to play in that, and we take the team very, very seriously here, and it's a big
Yeah.
area of my focus that we want that culture of being a great team and everyone having a role to play within it.
So when you made the shift from being technical into a leadership role,
Yeah.
how smooth was that transition? And kind of what needed to change in you to be really effective, do you think?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I guess based on my description earlier of how I approach each job, I kind of morphed into it unknowingly to myself.
One
And,
day I was there.
well, yeah, actually, I was technical, 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 and then I went over to the US to open some new test facilities in Detroit, and we had to deliver services from this facility, and we were working in another company's facility. So you kind of quickly turning up with near-term customer program just about to start. So I ended up morphing very, very quickly into the organizer and getting things done.
Mm.
And for me to do that, I needed some team members to do the doing, as it were. So actually, I was responsible for delivering the services. So I had to kind of move into that role and take responsibility, and thereby over the course of the next few years started to grow the team, expand the services, and that's within quite a short period of time, I was leading the group and built up a team of about 20 people quite quickly. So I think what changed within me, thinking back, I probably realized that I was okay at that stuff. I was pretty good at it. I accepted that others were better than me at the some of the design work and some of the analysis work. So even though I wanted to be really good at that stuff, I wasn't that good. So I wasn't the best designer. I wasn't the best analytical person, but I was a very practical person that could get things done, and that's what makes a team work. So I morphed into it and became the de facto leader, not necessarily as an ambition. When I went over, I went over as going to deliver these services to
Mm.
customers, so very much a technical engineering role. But it very quickly changed, and that was really the start of my operational management career.
Interesting. There are a couple of things that I just want to
Yeah,
pull out there. I think for me, my translation of what you've just been saying is if you think about your description of your very early career and the
yeah,
lessons that you learned in your first job, focus in, do a great job,
yeah,
and take as much learning as you can. There's something about, that also the mindset that you carried
mm,
forward from that. I loved your words about just morphed into it because that might seem, in some respects, it might sound a little bit accidental.
yeah,
That, what I've read from it is that because you're so vested in doing a good job, you're learning all the time. So you're learning what you're good at, what you're not
mm,
so good
yeah,
at. Your ego didn't get in the way. You realize that other people were better at certain things for
mhm,
you. And I think that is such an important lesson, isn't it? It really is about recognizing where are your talents
mm,
and maximizing your talents. And we're often told so much to focus on our weak areas and
no,
try to see about it. But generally, a lot of those are probably allowable weaknesses. Just let it be brilliant at what you're brilliant at.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's right, and let go of some stuff that you might hanker over, but actually you just accept that you're not very good at it. And
What a
it taught me quite early that actually when I think back to some of the team members, they're brilliant engineers, to support them and let them fly as well. We had a really good thing going. We had a really, really strong, small group, but really, really was a great time. I look back at that with really fond memories.
that's it's wonderful when you have those really strong memories of a particular
Yeah,
team and
yeah,
moment in your career, isn't
yeah.
it? So I think that kind of strikes me as almost an unconscious decision that has actually had really big ripples in your career. Just that ability to sort of constantly be reflecting and honing what you do has just sort of meant that things have evolved really effectively for you.
Yeah, and you get dropped into this situation and you've got to crack on, don't you? So you just have to say, well, okay, what needs to get done and then make it happen. And actually, the progression I've had since then was probably just scaling that rather than anything massively different. It was a case of taking on responsibility for more teams and more facilities, and it was kind of more of the same with the same approach of trying to get the right team in place and the right mindset, the right customer focus. So
Okay,
yeah,
so for you, the key is getting the right team in place with the right mindset.
yeah, nothing
Can
else
you
matters really.
elaborate on that a little bit more, particularly in terms of the mindset? What are you looking for?
Yeah, it's I think nothing else really matters. It's if you've got the right team, and I think certainly what I look for is positivity, can do. It's an overused expression of can do attitude, but generally it's something I would advise people is just have a find a way mentality. So really getting a culture of saying delivering to the customer is front and central. So that's what really matters. So building a culture of delivering and finding a way to overcome obstacles and taking the best capabilities to that customer is so important. And now more than ever, we've got intense global pressure. So really, what differentiates you is that customer focus, and all of our customers are hurting like hell. So you kind of got to work with them to try and help them. Um, and thereby try to survive yourself. So yeah, the team get in the right mix of team members. So mix is really important as well.
So what are you looking for in the mix?
Uh, I don't want to go down a big discussion about diversity, but it is diversity. It's diversity of opinion.
Diversity of thinking as
It's
well, isn't it?
diversity of thinking, diversity of experience. If you have everybody of the same mold, it never you end up you end up just potentially replicating issues that you have. So actually getting the right balance of technical leadership, operational management, program management, delivering stuff on time, bringing all of those together, and actual ensuring that you've got the practical team to deliver it
Mm.
is really important. So yeah, I think that maybe it downplays how wonderful I am as a manager, but I think the key thing for me is I think if you get the right team in place, everything else kind of takes care of itself.
But I think that's the job of a manager, isn't it?
Yeah,
Is actually
yeah,
making
yeah,
sure that
yeah,
you do have the right team so that
yeah,
they can get on and do it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And trying to fix team problems as well. It isn't a case of everything's rosy in the garden. There's definitely tough times within that, and you've got to you've got to try and work on the barriers to that team. Yeah,
yeah. We say one of the biggest jobs of leadership is actually clearing the path for them so that they can be their brilliant
yeah,
selves.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
How do you clear the path? That's the key, isn't it? And I really like what you said about diversity because for me, I see in organizations a lot
Mm.
that the leaders are creating echo chambers, and that is perilous,
Yeah, yeah,
particularly in today's world where we're moving so fast and we're under so much
mm.
pressure. Those echo chambers just do not serve in any which way, shape, or form.
Yeah. And there's a it's kind of lots of discussions now about diversity, but I think that's always been a thing for me and for us here is that we we do not set out to achieve statistics.
Yeah,
We set out to get the right team in place. And lo and behold, if you do that and you get the right people in the right jobs, hey presto, you've got that really good mix of experience inputs that you need to be successful. So actually, it really frustrates me that companies focus on metrics around this instead of, and lose sight of the actual what what do you do it in the first place, because actually it's all about getting the right people doing the right job. And if you understand the team makeup, then you'll get the right diversity anyway, so you don't need to worry about it.
I'm
It's
giggling listening to you, Declan, because to you and to me it's like so bleeding obvious,
yeah,
isn't it,
yeah,
that you do this. I think that anybody, for me, anybody that can cut through how complex we are making the world of work
oh, yeah,
unnecessarily, that in itself is just an incredible skill. If you're focusing in on the right things, everything else just falls into place.
yeah, yeah. Don't get me wrong, it's not
It's not
perfect and
you.
everything, but generally, some of these new approaches come out, and it's like, well, actually, we don't need to change anything because we we're kind of doing that already. No doubt there can be more information shared and make it more visible to everyone, and take care of unconscious biases and all of that. That's all. Yeah, stuff like that you've got to grab and add in. But generally, we don't chase metrics on
Yeah.
this. We chase customer net promoter score and employee engagement score, and those two, if you are in the great category in both of them, then that kind of says it all.
Yeah. And that in itself is simple, isn't it? It makes actually the doing
Yeah.
so much easier because you've just got clear guardrails, clear
Yeah.
guidance about what you want to do. So we talked about right at the start, the most important thing that you can do for your career is not be asking, saying I want to be a leader, but getting on and doing a great
Mm.
job. But there are times where just doing a great job isn't enough. We have to be visible and put ourselves forward as well.
Mm.
So, what lessons have you learned about influencing kind of at board level, globally, that people can bring into their careers right now? What's the best way to get noticed other than just doing a great job?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I don't think I've ever consciously thought how to do that, but my sense on that would be what I've learned over the years is certainly the whole managing upwards. There's never a standard way to do that. That evolves all the time because people change, acquisition changes, you're dealing in a different culture. We've been acquired by a fantastic Japanese company. So that rule book goes out the window and it just you're back to square one again. So what I would say is that you cannot rely on others or even the people you're working within customers to tell their management what you're doing accurately. So many, you might think you're doing a wonderful job, but what's getting communicated within the hierarchy of your customer is that, yeah, they're doing a good job, but actually there's issues with A, B, and C. So when you go to the contract review or whatever, suddenly you're in a world of pain because you haven't managed those perceptions. So I think that's my biggest learning is that don't assume things are being communicated that the way that accurately reflect what you're doing. You've got to do the legwork yourself.
Yeah.
You've got to build the relationships. You've got to talk to people. And actually, and it's one of my biggest pieces of advices and things I should have done better over the years is understand those third party perspectives
Yeah.
because they have such a bearing on what you do.
Whoever it is, whether
Whoever
it's
it
your
is, whoever it
boss,
is, yeah, your customer.
internal or external stakeholder.
Unless you talk and make time to talk, you never quite hear their perception of what's happening. And if you're in a management position, just think of an example. You may have a team that's wonderful and you need to sustain that through funding from group. If you haven't put the legwork in as a manager to communicate the successes of that group,
Yeah.
the funding stops. It could stop. You got a massive problem. So you might think that we're cooking on gas here and it's all brilliant. Actually, 9 times out of 10, how that goes through each review meeting and gets communicated to others gets diluted. So actually communicating and getting the perspective of what people think about what you're doing for them, either internally or externally, is just so important. And that is always a journey of discovery for me. I am not perfect in that. And I always think there was another senior discussion I could have had and I should have done that. So constantly beat yourself up over what you could have done better to handle situations where communications and perceptions have formed that
Yeah.
you could have influenced better. And that goes for the territory of leadership.
Absolutely. And I think you want to avoid those beating up moments as much as possible, don't you?
Yeah,
Building those relationships is key. The way that
yeah,
you build those relationships is also important. And it's about finding the balance between shouting about your successes
yeah,
ask, and
yeah,
asking for what people
exactly.
need.
Yeah,
You can't shout if you're not prepared to ask as well.
yeah,
So, and it's that constant check-in, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, exactly. So,
Without being needy, it's
uh,
and you're right, there's no formula to it. You have to find your balance with those individuals
mm,
because you're an individual, they're all different
yeah,
and different people need different things. You've got to be
yeah,
prepared to be flexible
yeah,
and challenge
yeah,
yourself.
exactly. Yeah. In the working closely with the Japanese colleagues, you could have the best invention here in the world, best service you've developed, but actually, if we haven't shared that knowledge or involved any of our global colleagues, it's kind of yes, it's making us money, but have we really learned, developed the team globally? Have we really shared that learning? So the the value of it to the team is globally is far more important than the commercial success on any one venture. So that's maybe just an example of what I mean that actually you can be developing something brilliant, but if you don't take the leadership with you and don't involve global team members, it's not really as successful as you thought it was.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, so what's been the biggest mistake you've made in your career, Declan? And how did you recover from it?
Yeah, probably lots of mistakes. Probably the time I didn't know I was making mistakes. It only became mistakes later.
Yeah.
Someone says, "Oh, I've never made a bad decision." At the time, you'd probably do the same again. But yeah, so yeah, lots of mistakes. I would say considering the nature of this discussion, I would say that the mistake I made a couple of times was probably staying doing what I was doing too long. I already knew there was, in one example, I already knew there was a mismatch of my values with the overall company. And I stayed more out of loyalty and passion for my team rather than actually following, backing myself and moving on to something that was better for me. So I probably did that twice for the same
Okay.
reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Interesting.
yeah. So, it's back to you've if I look at it's really important in a leadership role that you're authentic. You don't have to stand up in front of the team and put a spin on anything. You've got to an authentic position when you can talk to the team about what's happening and what you're doing, and that's a fair reflection of what's happening and what you're doing. So yeah, if you're finding you're having to spend understanding what the party line is on this and the party line on that is, and there's a mismatch there, isn't there, about
Yeah.
you being your authentic best, I guess. And a couple of occasions, I certainly wasn't aligned with the corporate values. Where
That's
yeah,
really interesting because a couple of weeks ago I was interviewing somebody, and they said exactly the same thing. That the
all
biggest
right,
mistake
okay,
was staying too long in a place that just wasn't the right place for them at all.
yeah,
And I think that is a really important message to echo. So thank you so much for being prepared to say that. 'Cause
yeah, yeah. It's like I say, it's if you've got a makeup of building a team, and what you also learn from that is that actually the team are all grown ups, and
yeah,
you kind of you feel like you've got an onus to stay around with them, but actually that they carry on, everything carries on without you. So actually, when you realize that, and I'm not encouraging a stampede of movement in the industry, don't get me wrong, but I'm trying to think about mistakes relevant to careers, and that was just a mistake. Not a, it was just when I did eventually make the decision and move on to the next thing, I thought, in both cases, I thought I should have done that at least a year ago. Not to say I would have been in a different position today, because things kind of happen and you make the best of it again. So yeah, it's just yeah,
I think it is an important acknowledgement
yeah,
because you don't know what the future would have been if you had moved on, but you probably stagnated for a while,
yeah, yeah,
because you were doing
yeah,
something that wasn't just right for you, and
yeah,
that's not
exactly,
right, is it, apart from
yeah,
anything else.
exactly, yeah.
So finally, if someone's actually starting out new in automotive, mobility tech, that kind of thing, what skills do you think will help them future proof themselves? Does it come back to the mindset piece or is
Yeah,
there something
yeah.
else?
I think it's what's you'll never, whenever been involved in recruitment, ultimately you're looking for someone that's smart enough with the right attitude, because people can learn. People are amazing. They can learn anything really. So actually, as long as you've got you've got an intellect and an interest in how things are being done, and you're okay with things changing and adapting to that. If you've got that mindset and you've got a mindset of finding ways, then that kind of refreshes whatever's coming down the the coming down the barrels. You've got the right skills to deal with that really. So yeah, I think it's definitely mindset and approach are the key skills, rather than I'm a embedded software controller. That's those individuals can learn and develop. So actually, it's that mindset of moving with the times and understanding what's coming and adapting to that.
That adaptability is so
Yeah,
important, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah. I loved what you said, actually. It made me giggle. You said, whatever's coming down the barrel. So I've got this picture of a rifle facing you. And I think sometimes it does feel a little bit like that, doesn't it?
Well, I'm what am I now? I don't know. I don't want to admit it, but quite a few years in automotive, and automotive is like that constantly. There's never a day where you go, this is all really tickety boo and it's all working great, and nothing's changing, everything's stable with our customers. Never, it's never the way. There's always regulation or politics or
Flux.
or
Flux, I think.
and even now there's, so much hostile stuff going on in the world with cyber that's just such a sad place, isn't it? Where, you're spending most of your time trying to not develop next generation vehicles, but protect your business
Yeah.
just to stay alive. It's kind of sad, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's always these challenges coming down the barrels, and you're always at the end of it rather than pulling the trigger. If you know
So
what I
what,
mean, it's so difficult to influence what's coming down the barrels.
and
That's what
your
I mean.
ability
Yeah,
to just deal with it is so
yeah,
important.
yeah,
What are you optimistic about, Declan? Because I
yeah,
mean, there are really exciting things happening in your industry, aren't there?
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I'm always positive about, particularly the UK. This is a amazing place for innovation and development. We need
Mm,
to get better at commercializing that and scaling up what we do.
that's
And certainly the technology around us at the moment, the skills in the UK, fantastic. So, I'm really optimistic about continuing to play a role in next generation mobility. But, in recent times, I'm very fortunate that I'm getting involved more and more across other sectors. And, that's leading to really interesting things around the environment, such as the water sector,
yeah,
around healthcare. And, common to all of these is societal impact and improving lives.
yeah,
So that's our big mantra here about improving lives. So actually, that's what you can do that through the technologies we have and the services we have. So that's that connection with a business that allows you to be aligned because you know what you do. Everybody comes to work. It makes a difference in that area. So it's really important that despite all of those things coming down the barrel, that you feel that ultimately what you're working on will make a difference.
yeah,
That's what
absolutely.
that's
And I
what
think
keeps
that
us coming back every day.
that mission of improving lives is so simple and moving.
Yeah.
It's something to really
Yeah,
focus
yeah,
on, isn't
yeah.
it?
I just have a really nice story. Think just as part of that, to free up my bandwidth,
Mm,
to focus on all of the UK activities, which is looking at for businesses in the UK and how do we take new services and solutions to our customers. I've actually
yeah.
backfilled my role, and just appointed. Can I name names or?
Yeah, please,
Yeah, yeah.
please,
So
let's celebrate. Let's celebrate.
yeah, so it's a fantastic story, really. We've just appointed Dr. Roisin Hopkins as the leader of the Horiba Mira business.
Oh, that's
Roisin's
fantastic.
been here from graduate days, so
Yeah,
maybe she's someone for a future podcast.
definitely.
But just someone who's given their 34 years, given their whole career um, to one company and knows the company inside out, knows what we do in all areas, fantastic intellect and getting things done. So just fantastic that we can
That's brilliant. How exciting
yeah,
to be recruiting somebody into that position that
yeah,
has been with the company 34 years
yeah. So
and grown,
yeah,
grown with the company.
yeah,
That's an example of where, there is a really strong values match, isn't it?
yeah. So yeah, absolutely delighted with that. And
Oh,
it's
congratulations, Roshi.
yeah, yeah. Oh, she's great. And as part of that, we've done some other moves around, and we've been able to take care of all of that from within the team we have. So providing those opportunities and growth is really important. And I think if you spoke to Rushing, that she would have answered that first question as the same as I did. That was like, I had no idea about that, but
Yeah,
actually, what a great great career within the company, and
too
ultimately
right.
to take on running it is a great achievement for her. So
Tell
yeah.
Roisin I'm going to be in touch. I'd love to chat to her.
Yeah, I think yeah, I'll tell her to get her answers ready.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you, Declan.
This quote has the right vibe and the completely wrong advice.
So let's fix that before someone puts it on a mug. So before we go, there are just two more bits that I would really like to do if
Sure,
possible.
sure, sure.
The first is a career quote crime. Is there a phrase that you hear on a regular basis that probably what makes you want to shoot yourself, that you think should be firmly put in the bin because it's misleading?
Yeah, it's a toughie. There's lots springs to mind. I think
Just the one now,
just
Declan.
the
Come
one.
on.
Well, the one that springs to mind is such a overly used expression, which is "you live in the dream."
Tell
Presses
me
all
why
my.
it riles you.
Sorry.
Tell me why it riles you.
Well, it's just such a in my world, it's just such a bizarre expression because my dreams are all over the place. And I can never make any sense of them. So 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 actually, you're living the dream. It's like, really, God, that's quite a that's quite a statement. So actually, probably don't fully understand it. I get the concept of it, but I think it's overused and has almost got negative connotations now. So I just
Yeah.
don't like it. It just think, oh, for God's
Is
sake.
there a
Yeah.
better reframe that we can think of? Because you're very much about being present, aren't you? And
Yeah.
being great in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
focusing on now
Yeah.
and being the
Yeah.
best you can be
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. Coming to work to make a difference and doing the best you can day in, day out.
I like that.
Yeah,
That's living your dream.
that's living your dream. Yeah. Yeah.
Improving
Yeah.
lives.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Living the dream is not necessarily what your manager wants you to do. They want you to live their dream. So it means you're coming to work every day, making a difference and doing a great job. So
Yeah, love it. Thank you, Declan.
Small shifts, sharp impact. These are quick-fire career moves, real things you can do before your next coffee refill.
And finally, we always like to leave people with 3 pieces of advice, things that they can do or think about right now that could make a difference to their career. What 3 pieces of advice have you got?
ooh, that's a good one. So just plucking things out from what I've said, I would say focus on what you're doing right now, and the future usually takes care of itself. That's one key point. The power of relationships cannot be underestimated. So you've got to go the extra mile to communicate with your colleagues, with your supervisors. You've normally got to put the yards in on that face to face, which is so important these days. And as we kind of lose our way with the balance of face to face communication. So I'd really encourage a lot more face to face contact and building those relationships. And finally, in line with getting things done, I would always encourage people to think about the question you ask, not can something be done, more we're going to do this, so how do we do it? That kind of example. So we really just make it very clear we're doing this. How do we do it rather than can we do it? I think that changes the dynamics on it very quickly.
Changes the dynamics and it changes the way your brain's processing.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
can we is binary, how is much more expansive, isn't it? It gets you curiosity and creativity. So brilliant. I love those, Declan. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us today. I think there's been lots of really good nuggets in this conversation. Really appreciate your time.
Oh, no problem. It was a pleasure.